Hello there everyone, welcome back to another video about a children's trading card game. Apologies if you hear any background noise. Before I get started, firstly, thank you Sundar, my semi love supporter. Secondly, if you are excited about set 3, you want to pick up some product, please use my affiliate link in the description, and you should be excited about set 3 because if you don't know about this event just yet, the Gate Ruler 1K tournament is happening. It has been delayed to the 13th of November. This is so we can play in the set 3 format, so if you're excited for a tournament there and you want to play in that, grab your product, use my affiliate link. If you want to know more about the tournament, I will leave it linked in the description. I've done my little piece on this already, so please do go and take a look at that. But let's go ahead and get started with the topic of today's video, and that is the new buffs for Highlander and Legion, as well as some very good new cards. Let's get started with Highlander. Now, well, actually, before we do, some context. Highlander released set 1 and was very mid, and I played the deck with 3 legends and it felt a little bit like, okay, wow, this is like, for set 1, bearing in mind how limited the card pool was, it felt very strong. And out of all the rulers, the one that was by far going to scale best with just more sets coming out was Highlander, because its biggest limitation was just having shit cards it was forced to play because there weren't enough good cards to fill in the one-off slots. So they ended up nerfing Highlander on release. They reduced the number of legends to 2, and the deck kind of sucked. Like, it was fun, you could play it, and with how sort of janky set 1 format was initially, you could have some fun with it. Then of course, you know, Red-Pink took over, Red-Pink Apprentice took over, and that was that. Set 2 gave us Legion, which is the hand version of Highlander, and a very similar story there, just not as good as anything else, and, you know, compounding all the issues that are sort of inherent in a ruler of this type, right? One that its whole big thing is the fact that it lets you play loads of factions, it lets you do all these sort of things. It's very reliant on card pool to fill in those singletons with like valuable things, and of course the card pool for hand rulers in set 2 was garbage. It was not good at all. So as you can imagine, Legion was basically unplayable. Fast forward to set 3, we're seeing a lot of increased power for hand rulers, a lot of emphasis on making those good because, you know, that's what people want to play. This is a trading card game, so we do want to be doing some skill-based things here. And, well, we got some new support and we got some buffs. I would say Legion was by far the worst ruler in the game, and prior to these buffs and everything, and Highlander wasn't much further ahead in terms of power level. Like, they were very much like the bottom of the barrel. So, has the buff changed that? Let's talk about Highlander first, because that was by far the less impressive one. So what happened to Highlander? Highlander has gone from a legend limit of 2 to a legend limit of 3, so reverting back to what it was before the nerf, which was definitely needed, and a counter limit of 20. Now this is, I remember proposing this ages ago for Knight as part of the buff. I was like, oh, we should give it more counters, maybe like 18 or something, and everyone was like, no, they're not going to do that. And they didn't. And so I sort of wrote off counters as an option, because I was like, okay, fine, they're probably not going to do that. It's probably going to be hand and this sort of thing. But here they are, they've done it with Highlander. And this is definitely, you know, something that's really nice, because so many of the best cards in the game are counter, and a lot of the time they're only like counters because it's playing multiples of them that would be really silly, like really unfair, or like, you know, having them in combination with loads of healing things and loads of counters would be pretty good, all these sorts of reasons. So it does make sense that Highlander would be allowed to run around and just use these on its own. I did just realise I'm probably covering it up, or it's probably covering me up, so I should probably stay over here. Also, apologies for the lighting. I'm trying to figure it out in this new setup. You can see that thing there. It's not really helped anything. We'll figure it out. Yeah, so 20 CNTs, kind of good. However, they did not do the third thing that Highlander really needed going into set 3 format to make this ruler viable, and that was a level limit raise. And I see why they've done it, because they've clearly read the room as far as the player base sentiment was towards apprentice-like rulers, and they were like, okay, let's dial it back a bit. Let's not... like, they could have pushed Highlander to level limit 80 and it probably would have been fine. 70 would have definitely been safe. 60 wouldn't have really made a massive difference. So, like, 70's rating would have been fine. They clearly made a conscious decision not to do that because they knew that the player base, if any drive deck is, like, doing anything like what Apprentice is doing in set 2 format, then, you know, the players would lose their shit. So, they did that. Legion is almost identical, with one very key change, and that is its starting hand is 3. So, in my opinion, you know, granted, Legion has 1 less life and 1 less attack. I don't think that matters. I think Legion is far and away the better of these two buffs. I think it's not even close. The reason I think that is because when you examine the set 3 card pool and the sheer push that gives hand rulers, the existence of superior rares, just entirely, you know, nerfing level limit decks by virtue of their existence, it's pretty clear that not having a level limit is a really big advantage. On top of that, of course, you get your 3-card starting hand, brilliant, and you're getting 3 legends, 3 factions, as you know these decks always had. There's a lot of potential power here. Do I think this is going to be a tier 1 meta threat? Probably not, but I would be surprised if there wasn't at least one variant of this that was able to contend on like that sort of rogue tier 1.5 tier. I think Legion has that potential. I think Highlander's dead in the water. I'm not even going to bother. I'm not even going to bother because like a level limit of 50, like you're like, okay, cool, I can play 1 Tatari, I can play one of the legend Tatari, losing one of my legend slots. Okay, I got a level limit of 60. Sick. I'm still not doing anything with a level limit of 60. It's not enough. So yeah. Highlander, a little disappointing, but I understand. Legion, pretty much all I could have asked for outside of giving them 5 factions. Like, that would have been really cool, but I appreciate that that would have been silly. So let's now talk about the new cards, because these are cards that are very nice pieces of support for these two decks. And the first one here is the this event. Adriano versus Shadowhouse. This is a martial skill, so all that martial skill synergy, like the targeted milling, like the playing from drop, all that sort of stuff, applies here. Counter, choose one level 1 or lower Space Peeps or Future Folk unit from your graveyard and special summon it. So, reasonable counter is a level 3, so... main effect is a standard action. You declare either Future Folk or Space Peeps and look at the top 4 cards of your deck. Choose up to 2 units that have the declared attribute with the total level of 2 or less and special summon them. Put the rest on the bottom of your deck. Then use OD and TD abilities of those units. Now, I'm pretty sure this means if it has OD and TD, you use it twice, right? Like, so usually so a lot of the times, the OD and TD will be the same. Sometimes they're different. But, you know, an example here would be the SR version of... oh, you can't actually play it. But, for example, if you could play the SR version of Ed off of this, you would burn 5 and then burn 5 again, right? Or deal 5 damage to units, right? Which would be pretty sick. Of course, that's a bad example here because it's not a level 2, but you get my meaning. So this is a very interesting card. How good is it? I don't think it's super strong. Now, of course, you know, if you can build, like, very heavy into Future Folk / Space Peeps, and that is more of a drive ruler style, this could be sick, you know, just getting to pop off, get some free value here. This is probably going to slot in fairly nicely into an Apprentice sort of style deck, but I don't think it's super strong. It's a level 3 CNT, so you can't even really abuse the CNT with Trickster, for example. I think it's a very fair card. Like, people were saying this is nuts. I don't think it's, like, nuts. It's also very RNG reliant. And at the moment, I don't know that there are enough Future Folk and Space Peeps to justify this. However, if they're not in this set, there certainly will be by set 4 or set 5. So, you know, this is a card that you want to keep in mind, even if it's not a runaway, like, crazy powerhouse at the moment. Unless there's, like, some interactions I'm forgetting. Additionally, like, being a martial skill is all well and good, but, like, it doesn't synergize really at all with that deck at the moment, so that is unfortunate. But again, like, you know, they're putting this here because they're going like, look, there's these attributes all over the place. You know, you'd probably play like red, pink, yellow or something to do like this martial skill shenanigans, and then like play loads of future folk and space people. Like, it sounds kind of janky. I'll tell you what is good though, and that's this card, and this is the final 4-star for Wonderverse. Singularity Spirit Schrodinger. So this is a level 1 Owl Paranormal Space Peeps. So of course, very good attributes there. Owl in particular being quite nice. Counter is to use this card's OD or TD. And the nice thing there is you actually get to choose, because the OD and TD do different things. So playing this in one particular ruler does not sort of mean you are not able to use the other. And immediately, this is a strong Trickster card. This is a strong... it's a strong card in general, but Trickster, of course, you know, being able to use that as NT, having that versatility there. Discount, you may pay DR1 to just play this for free, and a DR1 is basically free. So, like, yeah, that's a very strong DR ability. Just drop a 0/5/0 for nothing with all these abilities. Very, very cool. So if you're playing this in a drive deck, OD, put 1 card from your graveyard into your damage zone if you do heal 1. That's very nice, and of course, you know, that can potentially trigger some fun things, do some fun shenanigans, for example, with Schrodinger's cat and all these other sort of other things, so that's cool. And it can just set up your drop, and it's very synergistic with that sort of deck, and it's also like it is a DR countercharger, you know what I mean? So that's cool. The TD is choose one of your opponent's set cards, destroy it, so it's also quite good. And the nice thing of course is counter. You can just choose which one you want. If your opponent has some sets, cool, I can pop them. If they don't, okay, well I can just, you know, do some damage swapping, right? At bare minimum, it's removing flipped cards. It doesn't stop there though. This cannot be chosen by your opponent's cards and abilities, so this is obviously something they just have to attack over, which is very good. And then, or to be fair, this will be dealt with like Lucifer and stuff, because Lucifer doesn't like, choose, but you know what I mean. And the fact that it is 5 HP is obviously very telling that they wanted Lucifer to be able to out this, but besides the point. Paranormal Familiar, once per turn, standard action, until the end of the turn, this and all units in your damage zone gain 1 attribute of your choice. That's very sick. Why is that relevant? There's several different like attributes and like decks that rely on you having a particular attribute in your damage zone, be that for DR, be that for healing specific things out. There's lots of utility. So obvious ones to mind: Weeble of Wales, that only heals out owls. The SR Draconoid Dreadnought, that requires you to DR for military. The medals, which require militaries, right? The Aras from set 3, which requires warriors. So you see that there's actually quite a few ways in which this card's going to be very useful. And suddenly you're able to turn your entire damage zone into that attribute, which opens up your avenues in terms of being able to do some crazy fun combos. This is a really sick card in these singleton decks in particular, because it's just going to add consistency to those kind of little packages. I don't know how good this will be in other decks. Probably reasonable, but you know, nothing immediately strikes out as this is advancing that game plan like very significantly outside of that sort of damage zone as a resource, angel feathery sort of deal. But I think this is really cool, and overall I would say I am very, very happy with the Legion buff and these new cards. I definitely think that this was massively needed, and overall, in terms of my impressions of the buffs as a whole, I'm pretty gassed. I think the buffs did a really good job. You can expect a video where I'm going to discuss my updated rankings of all the rulers, tier list style. So do look forward to that. Subscribe to the channel if you're interested in seeing that, and of course, like, hit bell, usual stuff. Join my Discord server, linked in the description if you want to talk about the stuff as soon as it gets revealed. I appreciate I haven't talked about any of the new card reveals for daily for a while, so that is going to be the next video, so bell if you want to see that. There's a lot of cards to talk about. There was a while where we were sort of getting like doubles and there wasn't a lot, so I wanted to let it build up a bit. So yeah, let me know what you think of these buffs in the comment section down below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Cheers.